Here are some of the things I did that helped me escape my abusive marriage. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Cherish and I'm a survivor of domestic violence by a narcissistic abuser. They say luck is opportunity meets preparation. As someone who has been through family and domestic violence, I know all too well that the advice to just leave an abusive situation is often not the right one. This is because we don't know the circumstances and the complexities that an individual may actually be going through in the relationship. So they may not have enough finances, they may not have a place to stay, they may not have connections and friends that they can rely on. So there are a lot of things that make leaving a bit complicated. And not to mention the fact that their partner may be violent and may escalate if they know that the abuse victim is trying to leave. I started making preparations to leave years before I actually consciously knew that that was what I was preparing for. I'd like to split this into 3 categories: body, mind, and spirit. And I'm just sharing my experience, so take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and adapt it to your personal circumstances. I was a stay-at-home mom, so when it came to my body, a few years ago when we moved to Australia, I wanted to get fit. I wanted to get healthier, so I decided to start being more conscious about my eating and also start working out, doing home workouts. A few months in, after our move, there was a special deal in a community gym where for $65 a month, there is complimentary creche, which is like childcare, during the time when you are at the gym. And I jumped at the chance. I was like, oh my God, childcare is so expensive in Australia. And so I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I can go to the gym, get fit, and at the same time have childcare for my son. So I immediately joined. Because my abuser made me pay for the gym membership myself from my own freelance income, I really needed to make the money work for me. So I made it a commitment that I must go at least 3 to 4 times a week. And there were many days when I did not feel like going, but I pushed myself. So why I say this is important in terms of your preparation before you leave is because I forced myself to do the uncomfortable, inconvenient thing consistently. And it is an emotional and spiritual muscle that I was building on top of the physical muscle that I was building in the gym. And of course, with going to the gym, you get more confident, you get stronger, and you might meet a friend or two as well. So there were a lot of other benefits to me focusing on like the body aspect of preparing myself. When it came to the mind, this is one of those things where your abuser, however controlling and abusive they are, they do not have control of your mind. In that, yes, they will try to, but you can choose what you read, what you listen to, what you watch, and that feeds into your mind. So I listened to a lot of personal development podcasts nonstop. It would just be in my ear the whole time when I was doing errands, when I was doing house chores, all the time. I was feeding all this positivity, all this like growth content to my mind. So it shifted the way I was thinking. That is the mind aspect. The third aspect, which is the spirit aspect, I did a few things. Journaling is very important, although I didn't journal as consistently as I would like. For some of you, you may find solace in it. So write about the experiences that you are going through. The abuse is also a form of documentation, so that's important. And I also built community. One of the things that some of my followers tell me that keeps them trapped in an abusive relationship is that they have no friends and family that they can rely on or who can help them. I know that this is a very tough situation to be in. Personally, I was very lucky that I did have a lot of friends and family, but at the same time, I created that luck. Like I said at the beginning of this video, luck is preparation meets opportunity. 1 year after coming to Australia, a completely new country, I made it a mission to make more friends. So I wanted to get to know my neighbors as well as the parents of my kids' classmates. We had lived in that house for 1 year before I made my first contact with my next door neighbors and other neighbors surrounding in the area. We went fruit picking, and we had excess fruit which will go to waste if it's not eaten in like the next few days. So I grabbed onto this opportunity to take some of the excess fruit and go and pass some to my next door neighbors at first, and then as well as like few doors down the line. And I just introduced myself to say like, hey, I live in this house, and I have some excess fruit. So would you like them? By the way, this is my name, this is my number. Do you mind if I have your number? Because I just think it's very important that I get to know my neighbors. And then after that, I didn't just stop there. I found opportunities to get to know my neighbors. So if I meet like a dessert or like a dish or something, I would bring it over to my neighbors and I would share with them. I would also organize morning teas in my home. I would find times when they were available and invite them over and just get to know them basically with no agenda. Well, I guess the agenda is to make friends, but I try to do it as consistently as I can, which is sometimes once every 2 weeks, maybe once a month, things like that. So I got to know my neighbors, and I also offer like to have their kids come over to play with my kids, and that was how I got to know my neighbors. I also thought it was very important to get to know the parents of my kids' friends. For my daughter, it was a little bit more difficult because at that age group, she was 9 at the time. They have established their routine, their extracurriculars, so it was a bit more difficult to meet the parents. I still made an attempt, but it was not as easy as if they were younger. So when my son started kindy, I was like, oh, this is my opportunity, because parents have to stay there and pick up their kids and drop them off. So there is this like window of opportunity where you get a chance to talk to the parents of the other classmates and things like that. So I just, awkwardly went to introduce myself to some parents, say, hey, my son is so and so. What is your child's name? And I say, oh, by the way, would you be free one of the days? Maybe we can have morning tea and we can get to know each other. So I started doing these morning teas in my home for the kindy moms, and I got to know them. Of course, some of them worked on some of the days, so I tried to find a day where most of the moms can come over. So over a period of like 6 to 9 months, maybe a year, I got to know these ladies, like genuinely as friends. Like I wanted to know them and I shared with them my vision that it's important for me to know the parents of my kids, because then I know that like we have similar values and they can positively influence each other. And of course, everyone generally like this idea, right? Of having a positive peer group for their children. When it came time for me to finally escape my abuser, it felt like all the stars aligned. Physically, I was stronger, I was healthier, I had this mindset that I could do it. I somehow summoned the courage to, pack up and go. And the third thing, which is this community of friends that I have been slowly building out of a sincere heart, they rose up to help me. When they discovered that I, escaped family violence, some moms brought groceries. Some moms offered to watch my kids while I went to do errands, go to court or go to the police station, whatever it is. And some offered like monetary help and other things. Leaving family violence is a very difficult thing. It takes a woman anywhere from 7 to 9 attempts before she finally successfully leaves. And when children are involved, that makes things even more complicated, because you're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about your kids as well. So I really hope that the tips I've shared with you about how I left my abusive situation can help you prepare as well. When you finally have the opportunity to leave your abuser permanently, you would want to put yourself in the strongest position that you possibly can